Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. I swear I don't even know where to begin with this new episode of Sister Wives. I mean, Kody is now officially going off the rails, and the way things are going with Robyn, it's a disaster that you just can't look away from. Honestly, if you thought last season was dramatic, buckle up because this season 20 update, it's like seeing a slow motion train crash and I'm not allowed to turn away. So here's the thing. Kody's behavior recently, off the charts. He's pulling that old I'm in charge stunt. But at the same time you can see the fissures beginning to open up. And Robyn is not tolerating this anymore. There's tension in every scene she appears in, and you can practically sense the intellectual contortions he's undergoing simply to make it through the episodes without berating him outright. But let's get real for a moment. This isn't Kody being a drama queen on camera. Something more is happening. Something about his collapse that's just off. I mean, we've seen this dude more than 15 years attempt to keep a polygamous family in line like it's some ideal chessboard. But now, the pieces are in motion without him, and he's freaking out. Honestly, the first 10 minutes of this show had me like, what am I watching? It's also funny and sad because you can tell he's really struggling to try and control everything. But no matter what he does, every conversation with Robyn just becomes stilted, awkward, or just plain avoided. And I'm thinking, wow, this is gonna be one of those episodes where you can't help but cringe. And I know me, I'm gonna say it. I adore the drama. I thrive off the chaos. But this isn't fun. It's almost sad, like watching someone fall and not being able to catch them. Anyway, that's the mood we're diving into today. Strap in, besties, because Kody's spiraling and Robyn isn't holding back anymore. Alright, so let's talk about the episode itself. I mean, the first thing that happens is Kody's classic energy. He's pacing around, talking to cameras like he's in some kind of crisis management seminar, and Robyn is sitting there clearly thinking, I've had it. You can see it in her eyes. The combination of shock and fatigue that only comes from years of tolerating someone who won't accept reality. They begin with Kody attempting to fix the relationship. And when I say fix, I mean he's doing what he always does. Long lectures on compromise, balance, and fairness, all of which read well on paper but in practice, yup, Robyn isn't having it. She literally rolls her eyes so far I half thought they'd get stuck in the back of her head. And I'm thinking, girl, same. And then there's where Kody attempts to lecture her on communication. Like, oh, you want me to talk to you about my feelings. He's essentially illustrating why he doesn't have to communicate. Meanwhile, Robyn is over there looking like she's psyching herself up to write her resignation letter from this marriage. And honestly, can anyone blame her? I was watching all of this and I kept thinking, I can't even imagine sitting through 15 years of this circ. The other wives aren't much better in this episode. Mary's attempting to stay above it all. Christine's occupied with maintaining her own peace. And Janelle, well, she's giving that look which pretty much blats to, yup, same old Kody. The drama's classic sister wives. But the tension between Kody and Robyn, that's a different ballgame. You can practically see the inner mental tug-of-war occurring in each scene they share. And of course, Kody's small gestures to save things. They're humorous at best and pathetic at worst. He attempts these gestures that are all about romance or thoughtfulness, but they end up being performative. As if he's reading a guide to how to placate your wife and then forgot to actually feel it. Robyn's response, deadpan to the point of utter stillness. And I have to say, I enjoyed every moment of it, because it's the authenticity I've been hungry for. Truthfully, I was yelling at the TV like, Robyn, just tell him to cut it off. And she does, kind of, but you know, in an understated, I'm finished with your crap way that Kody doesn't completely get. Seeing this back and forth, I felt all the tension. The kind that makes you literally cringe and laugh simultaneously. Now, before I go further on Kody's tailspin, I have to let you know, watching this episode brought back a memory from my own life. Hang in there, besties, because this actually pertains to you. When I was growing up, I had this neighbor who was the epitome of trying to control everything. Like, he had a rule for literally everything. What time we could ride our bikes, how we had to line up during recess, even what flavor of ice cream was acceptable on Sunday. And each time something went off script, total meltdown. I'm referring to shouting, pacing, over-explaining, the full 9 yards. So I was over at his place one day, and he thinks it's the ideal time to explain to me why my baseball glove wasn't in harmony with the laws of the universe. I mean, I'm 10, he's 12, and somehow I'm huddled in a corner smiling and nodding and thinking, I cannot be with this guy. Here's the thing. I could see it coming. The mayhem was inevitable. And that's how Kody currently feels. Seeing him struggle to adjust to living with Robyn in this episode was like seeing that crazy neighbor lose her mind over baseball gloves, but amplified to a polygamous home of adults. And it's frightening in a different manner because Robyn is no spring chicken. She's smart, strategic, and emotionally ready to call out foolishness. And Kody, he's that neighbor type, still in awe that someone would have the audacity to question his rule. I was thinking to myself while viewing this episode, I know that feeling, the anger, the incredulity, the how is he still doing this vibe. And you see the worst part, he doesn't even know he's losing control. Not really, he believes that he's in control, but it's imploding around him. Similar to that neighbor of mine, who ultimately had to own up to the fact that he couldn't control everybody's lives. And here's the thing, sometimes watching someone go off the rails makes you homesick for turmoil that you've weathered in your own life. It's gross, it's cringe, and it's uncomfortable, but oh my god, you can't turn away, and really that's the vibe of this episode. Alright, let's dive into the gross stuff. Kody's tantrum is not about minor spats or trivial quarrels, it's a complete emotional breakdown unfolding on camera. And the thing that's interesting is how Robyn responds to it. She doesn't scream, she doesn't freak out, but each look, each little movement shouts, I am not tolerating this crap anymore. For instance, there is this one moment where Kody is attempting to persuade Robyn that his schedule plan for the family is absolutely fair, and I swear, he is sitting there with his smug, confident face, like he is about to impart some earth-shaking knowledge, while Robyn sits there staring at him, not blinking, not nodding, just being in the same room as a man who can't bring himself to acknowledge reality. And I thought, whoa, that look, that's the look of a person who has psychologically checked out. And then there's the dialogue, or lack of, later in the episode. Kody tries to make amends for past resentments, like some sort of apology, but it's more theatrical than genuine. He adds in words like, I understand, and I want to do better, but the execution, total emptiness. You can hear the script literally coming out of his mouth. And Robyn, she fires back with those little crisp sentences that carry more punch than Kody's entire monologue. It's almost clinical, she's taking him apart without even effort. Another thing I picked up on is how the other wives react, or rather don't react. It's as if they all have just figured out that Kody's meltdown is on a whole different level this season. Mary is watching silently, Christine is tiptoeing around the drama, and Janelle is throwing those little I told you so glares that are absolutely priceless. It's like seeing a ticking bomb and everybody else just understands to move back. The production does a great job of keeping the tension high, long quiet shots, canted angles on Robyn's face, Kody pacing like a wild animal. It's nearly cinematic in a sad, silly way. You can sense the power struggle, the aggravation, the silent battles taking place behind polite language, and it's agonizingly fun to watch. Honestly, seeing Kody attempt to corral everything, while Robyn quietly but tenaciously makes her presence known, is like seeing someone attempt to herd cats, blindfolded during a hurricane, and that's precisely why this episode is so addictive. It's chaotic, unpredictable, and emotionally taxing, and you can't look away. Okay, now let me just stop for a second, because I cannot get over this one thing. Kody, for real, how are you still behaving like the captain of a ship that's obviously taking on water? I mean, I don't know if he's got some internal delusion that everything is fine, or if he's simply too stubborn to notice the reality staring him in the face. And let's not even talk about the excuses. Each time he screws up, it's like, well, I didn't know, or I'm only trying to do the best for everyone. Girl, the bar is not that high, you just have to be human. That is all. Be human, apologize for mistakes, refrain from attempting to spin mayhem into some master plan. It's tiresome observing him thrash around. Also, can we discuss Robyn for a moment? Because yes, Kody is going off the rails, but Robyn's subtlety is chef's kiss. She's not yelling, she's not hurling objects, but each statement is filled with enough reality to knock Kody completely off course. And seeing him scramble, priceless. I actually stopped the episode to enjoy her expressions such as, wow, she's mastered the art of the disapproving silence. And here's the thing, The pacing of this episode is just strangely hypnotic. One minute you're laughing at Kody running around like a lunatic. The next you're sort of feeling bad for him because you can see him really losing it. And then boom, he does something absurd again. And you're laughing again. It's like seeing a toddler attempt to operate a minivan during a hurricane. Oh, and don't get me started on how he treats the other wives. Every tiny micro-expression. Every well, maybe we can, statement. It's like he's always testing limits and praying nobody ever makes him accountable. Spoiler alert, Robyn does. Mary does so subtly that it's almost imperceptible. Christine does so politely that she basically breaks her back in effort. And Janelle silently judges. And seriously, that judgment, I thrive off those small passive-aggressive moments because that's where the magic is. And let's just say it. If Kody believes that spiraling in season 20 is going to somehow magically make it all better, honey, the universe is trolling him. This is pure too little too late energy. And it's amazing. Now let's get a little spicy, besties. I don't know if anyone else noticed this, but there are some moments in this episode that scream production interference. Like I kept wondering, is Kody genuinely spiraling? Or is this being nudged along a little bit for maximum drama? Hear me out. Take a think. The timing of his meltdowns, the manner in which certain camera shots linger on his pacing, the ingeniously timed close-ups of Robyn's barely perceptible side eyes. It's too good. It's as if the producers were fully aware of just how to film that Kody losing control look. And I wouldn't be surprised. This is reality television after all. Then there's the strange timing of Robyn's reaction. Some of what she says seems almost too perfectly timed, as if she knows she's waiting for Kody's ridiculousness before he even opens his mouth about it. Now I don't mean to say she's performing, but it certainly is cinematic. And really, if this was slightly stage-managed, it's brilliant because it rings true, like painfully, mortifyingly true. Also, the small interactions between Kody and the other wives. There's some subtle choreography going on. You notice it in the small pauses, the micro-expressions, the timing of comments. I mean, it's maybe just human behavior when one is stressed, but with this franchise, I raise an eyebrow. Either this is extremely organic or superbly edited to have Kody lose his grip. Either one, it's satisfying as hell. And the argument timing, girl, tell me that this is flawlessly edited for tension. One minute he's walking calmly, the next Robyn says something in a one-liner, and in an instant, he appears to be in total panic mode. It's as if to see one stumble over their own ego, but intentionally, and perhaps that is precisely what's occurring. Honestly, the more I observe, the more I believe there is a plan to the madness. Producers know what they're doing. Capture the spiral, highlight the cracks, and let Robyn's subtle strength shine through. And if that's the case, kudos, because it's working terribly well. Okay besties, now let's get real for a sec. Beyond the pacing, the drama, the micro-expressions and the spiraling, there's a deeper story here about control, resilience and self-worth. Kody may believe this is simply another day of family leadership, but Robyn is teaching us something great. She's teaching us the quiet strength of knowing when enough is enough. Observing her deal with him is nearly inspiring, because she doesn't need to scream or yell to get her point across. Each pause, each glance, each well-chosen word is a lesson in boundaries and self-respect. And it's tragic because you can see what's being sacrificed in this dynamic. The potential for a harmonious, respectful relationship going down the drain because Kody won't look at it. And here's the thing, this cycle isn't all about one marriage. It's a reflection of long-term consequences. When one person refuses to accept their own weaknesses, you can see the effect on the family, the tension that seeps into all the interactions, the frustration that's gradually consuming everyone's patience. And that's the lesson we can all learn. Denial and control never solve problems, they only escalate them. At the same time, there's a strange kind of beauty in observing Robyn stand her ground. She's a masterclass in quiet strength. While Kody struggles, she is grounded not because she is flawless, but because she knows what she is worth and won't risk her emotional well-being for anyone. And quite honestly, I am unable to help but appreciate that kind of strength. So sure, it's complicated, sure, it's infuriating, sure, it's completely entertaining, but under all that mess is a very human tale of power struggles, marriage, and what happens when one person refuses to grow while the other will not stand for nonsense. And that, besties, is why this episode packs such an emotional punch. Okay, besties, before we get to the second half of this roller coaster, let's take a moment and get our bearings on everything we've seen up until now. Kody's spiral isn't a mad jumble, it's the result of years of turning a blind eye to reality, of choosing control over connection, and of hanging on to an idea of family that only he knows is real. And Robyn, she's not buying it anymore, which, let's be real, makes her the most fascinating character in all this drama at the moment. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but there's something sort of mesmerizing about seeing her respond. The way she sits back, lets Kody work himself to death, and responds only when she has to. It's like she's performing some sort of experiment on emotional strength. And the thing is, she's winning by default. Kody is struggling, overanalyzing, performing, and she's undermining his teeny control fantasy quietly with a single comment, a single look, and a single boundary at a time. And what really hit home was the way the other wives engage, or rather don't. Mary stays above the fray, Christine maintains her distance, and Janelle silently judges, just the right supporting cast for Robyn's gradual, inexorable journey towards enlightenment. It's as if the show is creating this quiet little narrative that Kody's old tactics are no longer effective. And seriously, as a viewer, it's just so satisfying. There's a combination of schadenfreude and respect that you can't help but feel. Now I have to admit, I was truly impressed by the production decisions on this episode. Those extended shots, the silences, the long wordless scenes, they're not an accident. They're drawing attention to the tension, the unspoken words, the emotional distance between Robyn and Kody. And it is great because it makes you pay attention to the nuances, the micro responses that convey the true tale. You can feel the frustration mount, the withdrawal from the mind, the quiet questioning, why am I still doing this? And I don't think Kody even knows the world can see it too. So let's just talk about something before we get into part 2 of this analysis. How long can someone keep things together when the other person is no longer playing along? Kody's descent into madness is compelling because it's crazy, sure, but it's also inescapable. You can't hold a narrative together when the people around you are slowly, deliberately refusing to participate in the story you're telling. And that is what makes this episode so good. You are seeing the breakdown of an individual in real time, with all the tension, absurdity and drama that only sister wives can provide. And of course, I need to hear from you. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Team Robyn for standing up for herself finally, or watching Kody's meltdown with sympathy. Do you actually believe he even knows just how much control he's losing? I want your opinions, because this episode is worthy of an open discussion. Okay besties, that's part 1 but don't move anywhere, because in part 2 we're going to analyze more of Kody's antics, Robyn's cunning strategy, and the eye-popping moments you may have overlooked. Trust me, you don't want to miss part 2. Aight besties, let's get to the nitty-gritty of this episode, the scene-by-scene craziness that really illustrates just how far off Kody has gone and how totally Robyn has checked out. And trust me, every moment counts to break down, because it's like seeing a blueprint of a relationship crumble before your eyes. The episode begins with Kody walking back and forth in his typical frantic pace. You can practically hear his internal dialogue. I must correct all of this immediately before anyone even realizes that I am losing control. And he's telling the camera like he's presenting a TED on family harmony. But if you actually listen to the language, it's all filler. Top-notch Kody. Meanwhile, Robyn is sitting there, calm, controlled, and letting him say his piece, which makes him spiral even more because she isn't reacting like he expects. Then there's that scene at the kitchen table, and let me just say, if you've ever watched someone slowly realize they're losing influence, this is it. Kody's attempting to lecture Robyn regarding communication, regarding fairness, regarding how everyone must understand things his way. And Robyn, she answers with brief stinging declarations that essentially tear his whole argument apart without ever elevating her voice. I stopped mid-scene and literally grumbled, she's winning, and he doesn't even realize it. Next up is the conversation in the backyard with the other wives. Christine and Mary are positioning themselves judiciously to not get caught up in the conflict, an old stay out of Kody's spin move, but Janelle is rolling her eyes on the side without even a word. Yep, this is precisely what I knew. It's interesting because without needing to say a word, the other wives' body language speaks volumes. Kody's spin isn't in a vacuum, and everyone that is near him knows it. And then there's the legendary hallway moment. You remember the one where Kody is pacing back and forth like he's racing to figure out a Rubik's Cube with one hand behind his back? That is not anxiety, that is panic masquerading as control. And Robyn trails along calmly setting boundaries while Kody's internal monologue goes on, just pointing up the ridiculousness of it all. Seeing this, I couldn't help but laugh. Not cruelly but in a yup, this is just so agonizingly real sort of way. Lastly, there's the cliffhanger moment that completely hits the spiral. Kody attempts one final time at fixing everything before the camera freezes, and Robyn's reactions are worth their weight in gold. The combination of exasperation, quiet resilience, and repressed sarcasm is just chef's kiss. You can watch the psychological shift occur. She's no longer responding out of fear or hope. She's responding out of clarity. And Kody, he's still pacing, still speaking, still acting like this is in check. But the cracks are laid bare. Honestly, seeing these scenes one after the other is like a masterclass in dynamics that go awry. Kody's unraveling, Robyn's taking charge, and the other wives are quietly coordinating the background. Each frame is a story of tension, frustration, and emotional maneuver, and it's so gratifying to see play out. Alright girls, now let's go on a little tangent, because this episode made me think so much about something that happened to me, and honestly, it made Kody's meltdown feel cringe-worthily relatable. I was younger, I had this school group project. One of the kids, say his name was Kevin, was positively sure he was in charge. Despite our disagreement, Kevin had a plan for everything. Each slide, each sentence, each color of marker on the poster, and if something little went awry from his plan, complete breakdown. He'd pace, rant, repeat himself endlessly, and somehow expect the rest of us to clap and nod like he was delivering a TED Talk. Sound familiar? Anyway, there I was, trying to keep the project moving without feeding Kevin's ego, and I realized something. The more he spiraled, the more control I actually had without even trying. I could just sit back, do my job, and let him struggle, and lo and behold, my little actions meant so much more to him than his panicked chaos. That, besties, is what Robyn is doing with Kody. She doesn't have to scream, she doesn't have to sob, she doesn't have to make some big show. She simply occupies the space in the moment with boundaries, clarity, and quiet rebellion. And Kody, he's flailing more than Kevin did in my grade school group project, believing that volume, pace, and over-explaining in some way adds up to leadership. Spoiler alert, it doesn't. And the surprise, the more Kody gets caught up in spiraling, the more he works against himself. He's attempting to get it right, but the more he speaks, the more it's clear that he has no connection to reality. It's like seeing someone dig their own grave and you just stand there, popcorn in hand, mentally jotting down notes. Also, I must admit, this spiral isn't only fun, it's excruciatingly relatable. We've all had moments when someone won't accept reality and wants to control what the story, and watching Robyn navigate it is both satisfying and inspiring because it shows the power of composure, strategy, and emotional intelligence. So yeah, Kody may think he's in control, but this episode proves the opposite. And honestly, if I were Robyn, I'd be mentally drafting a detailed step-by-step plan on how to survive the next 10 years of this chaos, undefined. Which, spoiler alert, she probably is. Okay besties, now we come to my favorite part, the guess. Because it's one thing to watch Kody spiral out of control, but it's another to try and guess where all of this is going. That's the real entertainment. And let me tell you, the signs aren't good for him. First off, let's discuss the elephant in the room. Robyn isn't moved. She's calm, calculated, and more strategic in her interactions with him. Every time Kody tries his usual I'm in control routine, she quietly dismantles it. Not aggressively, not loudly, but subtly. That's a power move, besties. And it's only going to become more pronounced as the season continues. At this point, Kody is basically fighting a silent war he doesn't even know he's losing. Now the other wives, they're fascinating here. Mary is just sitting there in silence, likely thinking, yup, same old Kody, different day. Christine is standing off on her own, not wanting to get caught up in the drama, and Janelle, oh Janelle, she's giving those Surrey eye looks like she's mentally checking off each mistake for future reference. This is the type of dynamic that won't get wrapped up in one episode. It involves building tension over seasons, and Kody is oblivious to it. So the spiral is just so delectable to behold. Here's what I'm predicting. In the coming episodes, Kody's grip will continue to deteriorate in more and more public manners, more pacing,
more speechifying, more fumbly efforts at fixing relationships that are already irretrievable. And Robyn, she's going to amp up her subtle moves, strategically withdrawing when necessary, calling out bullshit when necessary, and maybe even making Kody confront consequences he's been avoiding for years. And let's be real, this season is building for some huge blowback. I wouldn't be surprised if we get to see Robyn finally stand her ground in a very public manner, and that will set off not only a personal transformation but also a ripple effect throughout the rest of the family. Kody's downward spiral isn't isolated, it's contagious. The longer he struggles, the more the family dynamic changes, and the more the other wives quietly take themselves. Honestly, it's crazy to watch this as a fan. There's a bit of schadenfreude, suspense, and honest-to-goodness curiosity. You can sense the tension in every episode, even the quiet ones. And the fact that Robyn's cool is such a stark contrast to Kody's madness makes it all the more engrossing. So my prediction, besties, buckle up. Kody's spiral continues to gain momentum, Robyn's plan is changing, and the rest of the season, it's going to be a good savoring unspooling that we can't look away from. This is not only drama, it's a masterclass on emotional intelligence versus egomaniacal mayhem. And for real, I live for— Alright besties, I have to stop and just comment on how deliciously absurd all of this is. Seeing Kody spin while Robyn quietly deconstructs his teeny tiny control fantasy is like seeing a reality TV version of that boy in your 7th grade class, who thought he was bossing around the playground, except, now he's in a house with several adults who actually have a clue. And quite frankly, I found myself laughing hard at some of Kody's old school panic speeches, you know the kind, pacing, over-explaining, waving his arms wildly, making non-existent points. It made me think of this time I had a roommate who believed he could negotiate the whole internet bill because he felt very passionately about bandwidth, I mean charts, arguments, the whole 9 yards. He was red-faced and frantic by the end of it, and I'm just sitting there, quietly drinking my tea, like yep, this is occurring again in adult life. And let's discuss Robyn for a minute. Her calm, authoritative presence is chef's kiss. There is one scene where she's being lectured by Kody on fairness, and she shoots back at him with one sharply delivered sentence, that's all. No screaming, no crying, but raw undiluted truth. I stopped the show and literally said out loud, girl, teach him a lesson. That's the vibe she's bringing, subtle, strategic and amazingly effective. And can we talk about the cringe-worthy tension between Kody and the other wives? Mary's pulling out her usual stay invisible move, Christine is playing the diplomat card, and Janelle, oh she's just judging him in stunned silence, like a reality TV equivalent of a Supreme Court judge. And seeing all of this play out, you learn something. Kody may be the head of the family, but true power rests with those who won't feed his ego. And here's a brief aside that's strictly for laughs. I couldn't help picturing Kody at a family dinner pacing around the table, delivering a speech about how everyone needs to fall into place behind his vision, while Robyn quietly munches on her salad and silently judges. I mean, can you picture it? Because that's basically what we're seeing this season, Kody flailing, Robyn owning her space, and everyone else quietly observing the chaos. It's funny, it's sad, and it's somewhat satisfying. Honestly, the pairing of his melodramatic freakout with her deadpan powers of authority makes me wonder if this season shouldn't be subtitled, How to Spiral Like a Pro and Be Silently Destroyed. And yes, I laughed, cringed, and I absolutely cannot wait to see how this all goes down. Okay besties, now we're in the home stretch, the stage where I provide my complete analysis, and make some educated guesses about what's ahead for Kody, Robyn, and the rest of the sister wives. If you've been keeping up, you know where we've gotten so far. Kody's going down, Robyn's standing up for herself, and tension in the household is so thick you could cut it with a knife. Let's begin with Kody. To be honest, I think this season is stripping back layers we didn't even realize were there.
His actions aren't subtle anymore, they're outright, almost dramatic panic. The pacing, the extended monologues, the pathetic efforts to hang on to control, it's all ramped up this season. And the thing is, the more he falls apart, the less control he really has. It's great to see, because you can observe the gap between what he thinks about himself and what the world, or Robyn anyway, thinks about him. Robyn, however, is playing at a whole other level. She's cool, calculated, and more strategic by the day. Her responses are understated, yet each word, each hesitation, each look, is precisely weighed to keep her boundaries in place and firmly establish her dominance. And honestly, besties, it's motivating to watch her because it's a lesson in quiet power. She has no need to shriek and overreact. Her power is in her calmness, her coherence, and her refusal to be manipulated. Now we turn to the other wives and notice an intriguing dynamic being played out. Mary has taken a stay out of sight, monitor, and choose battles cautiously approach. Christine is keeping her diplomatic gameness, carefully staying away from the insanity while still offering muted support. And Janelle, oh, she's judging in silence, tallying every boo-boo, and likely doing a season-long plan that she alone comprehends fully. They both create a background of stability and assessment, and Kody's frantic bid for control seems all the more ridiculous in its wake. So what can we expect from the rest of the season? Well, if I had to guess, I'd guess we have slow burn escalation ahead. Kody's spiral will keep building, but instead of earning sympathy, he'll probably get more and more pushback from Robyn and the others. There will be increasingly passive-aggressive interactions, more telltale micro-expressions, and likely a couple of blow-up fights that will have us all panting. And Robyn? She'll keep asserting herself in subtle, quiet, and sometimes devastating ways. I also predict we'll have a larger shift in the family hierarchy. Kody's refusal to change, added to Robyn's increasing power, will create long-term ripple effects for family dynamics. The other wives will quietly fall into place in ways that continue to exacerbate Kody's flaws, and the viewer will be left sitting for a slow, measured unraveling. The sort of storytelling that keeps reality TV fans hooked, at last. There's the emotional aspect. This season is not simply about chaos for chaos's sake. It's about human consequences, boundaries, and the price tag of paying too much attention to fantasy rather than reality. Kody's spiral is fun, sure, but it's also a warning about ego, denial, and the boundaries of control. Robyn's plan is a reminder that quiet strength and clarity can defeat loud chaos. So hold on tight, besties. This season of Sister Wives is about to get even more drama-filled. Kody's spiral isn't letting up, Robyn's power is expanding, and the rest of the family, they're observing, strategizing, and waiting for the opportune time to intervene. And to be frank, I can't wait to see how it all goes down. Okay, besties, we've reached the final stop, and to be frank, what a wild ride this episode has been. Kody's descent, Robyn's subtle dominance, and the covert machinations of the other wives, it's all a masterclass in tension, ego, and emotional politics. I don't know about you, but I was completely invested from beginning to end. Before we totally wrap this up, let me just say this, the story isn't finished. Kody's downward spiral continues, Robyn's boundaries are being reinforced, and the rest of the family, well, they're quietly considering the next step. This season is demonstrating that even in the world of reality TV, there's a complex story about power, control, and relationship that can be as riveting as any scripted show. And the cherry on top, we get to see it all happen in real time. Now it's your turn. What did you think of Kody's conduct this episode? Do you believe Robyn has finally come to a place where she will no longer accept his self-destructive behavior? Who do you think is playing the long game in the background? Leave your comments below. I read every single one and enjoy discussing these things with you. And of course, if you liked this analysis, be sure to thumbs up this video. It really helps me understand what type of content you guys want to see, and it brings more people to these in-depth analyses. And don't forget to subscribe and ring that notification bell if you haven't already, so you never miss a deep dive into Sister Wives drama or any other wild reality TV moments I analyze for you. Honestly, besties, this episode is a reminder of why I enjoy watching these shows. The chaos, the drama, the personalities colliding in ways that you can't anticipate. And it's also a reminder to all of us, boundaries, composure, and emotional intelligence are mighty tools, even in the most messy moments. And that's a wrap on today's breakdown. Thanks so much for watching, commenting, and being a part of this community. Keep commenting, keep arguing the drama, and keep riding these crazy reality TV waves with me. And remember, whether it's Kody losing his grip or someone else, there's always something to learn, or at least laugh about. Until then, besties, tune in, stay active, and I'll catch you in the next breakdown.